Zecher Nishmas, Aaron Yitzhak and Altu Chaim, whose first yahrzeit is coming this Wednesday, 21st of year, and whose unveiling is today. Hashem shall have an aliyah.
Amen.
Big schus. Wow. It's probably something we'll see if we could find something to having an unveiling on Lag BaOmer, significance of that. But I want to talk about Lag BaOmer. Today's share is entitled Lag BaOmer and Upsherins. I will talk about the haircuts and the like in the second phase. But firstly, Lag BaOmer is a major holiday, and it seems like it gets to be a bigger holiday every single year. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, when I was a bacher learning in Eretz Yisrael, I remember that the yontif, as you call it, of Lag BaOmer was super big. I dare say, in the minds of some people, it was probably the biggest day on the Jewish calendar. Who were those some people? Kids under the age of bar mitzvah, maybe some pyromaniacs above too, but they would be schlepping from basically the time Pesach is over for the next 3 weeks and change, 4 weeks and change, right? They'd be schlepping any bit of wood, any crates. They would find, they would get their own, each little block gang would have storage. You know, I could think if my neighbors lived in the Eretz Yisrael, oh boy, would be ready for a big bonfire. But these kids, everyone would go schlep, wood and wood, and they make these big bonfires, and it's such a happy day because little kids like burning things. That's my perspective I had as a bacher. But as you get older and you see, it's not just the little kids anymore. Everybody has elevated Lag BaOmer into its own stratosphere, into such a major day. And, you know, probably a lot has changed from what you'd call the classic Litvish approach. And what's Lag BaOmer? Today you don't say Tachton.
Yeah, right.
That's something has evolved. And I'd like to talk about that, how it evolved and all that this morning. And one major aspect of it is the whole idea of going to Meron and little children having their first haircut. In Israel, Hebrew, they call it a chalukah. In America, we just call it the Yiddish word upsherin. But I want to talk about that whole process, that whole idea, specifically on Lag BaOmer, but really for the whole year round. What's the whole idea behind upsherin? That I also hope to get to. But firstly, let's just go through the basics in halacha that you find about Lag BaOmer. And after we go through the basics in halacha, then we're going to go through the expansion of this quote-unquote holiday. So I want to read the lashon of the Mechaber and the Ramah. We all know that you keep 33 days of Minhagei Sfira. There actually are some people that keep the entire Sfira, where they keep the Minhagim. And Lag BaOmer, I'll put with an asterisk, is an off day. If you keep what you call, quote unquote, the first Sfira in the Ashkenazic world, so then once you get through, and I'll show you in a second, Lag BaOmer morning, Mixas Yom Kekulo, like in Hilchos Avelos, and you're finished. If you keep what you call second Sfira, which means you started from Rosh Chodesh and you keep somewhere towards Shavuos, so then Lag BaOmer is a pause, it's an off day, but you restart your Avelos right after. We'll see the nafkaminas in that too. The Sfardim don't go with the idea of Mixas Yom Kekulo. They use 33 full days, which means by Sfardim, the music doesn't go on until tonight. Okay? Those are the basic 3 ideas for Lag BaOmer. Either Lag BaOmer is the end of your Avelos, it's the end of your Avelos one of 2 ways. In the Ashkenazic world, it's the end of your Avelos with Mixas Yom Kikulo right after what's called Shachris in the morning.
After the shir.
Yeah. It's a continuation of Shachris, I guess. In the Sephardic world, it's only tonight after 33 full days. And if you keep second Sphira, today's just a pause, and it restarts tonight.
Or if you keep the whole time this year.
No, not even the whole time. If you keep from Rosh Chodesh Iyar until before Shavuos, the second Sphira.
Right.
Now, people always get very confused, and in some ways this year, when there is an added halacha, people got even more confused. Halacha is a year like this, where Lag BaOmer comes out on a Sunday, so there's an inyan for a person not to first shave and take haircuts on Lag BaOmer. We pull it back even for Friday, for Erev Shabbos, for Kavod Shabbos, specifically as an inyan to shave and take haircuts for this Shabbos. Okay? Correct. But this past Shabbos, you look around Shul, you probably saw a lot more people shaved, trimmed. That's all with this idea that, now this is in the Ashkenazic world. The Sephardic world, they don't call it this. Sephardic world anyway is not shaving till Sunday night, Monday. So, but in the Ashkenazic world, where Lag BaOmer in the morning, Sunday morning, would already be free game, so we say for Kavod Shabbos, one could shave Erev Shabbos. With that, people get all confused. If we're already shaving Erev Shabbos, does that mean the sphere is over? The answer is no. The sphere is not over. So for example, Pashtus, according to halacha, you couldn't go to a wedding last night. The idea of having weddings on Lag BaOmer, Pashtus, is only really the day and then the following evening of Lag BaOmer. We'll get to the following evening. But today is a great day to make a wedding. But ideally not last night. Now, the poskim talk, you have a big shas of the chak. There's no other time to make it, which nowadays, yeah, definitely is things like that. So there are some that make weddings the night of Lag BaOmer. I've been to such weddings in the past. But in general, the weddings only begin today. Same thing with music. Now this is where it gets a little bit hairy already. If you look around the town,
Is that one?
if you look around the town, you will see that there are events with music and dancing that probably occurred already last night. Now, in Eretz Yisrael, here, it's child's play. In other locales, like for example, I don't know, in America, we'll talk about where you go to if you want to participate in such a thing. Some shuls have it. Definitely in the Hasidic bent places do. I don't know, Young Israel's having a bonfire last night, tonight. Last night they had it ready. Okay, we'll get to that. But, in Eretz Yisrael, it's widespread, especially this year where they didn't have Meron really open to the public. So it actually probably made for bigger events in the locales. I saw there was an event in Ramat Beis Shemesh where they brought Rav Melech Biederman, who was a very major figure in the Hasidic and even the non-Hasidic world. It literally looked like a major football stadium. And all it was bleachers on the street in Ramat Beis Shemesh. They literally had tens and tens and tens of thousands of people watching him dance with his torches, L'Kavod Lag BaOmer and lighting a bonfire. Huge gatherings. All the different major Hasidices all had this. And I just heard testimony from two kosher Eidim that in Hollywood, Florida, not by the Rebbe over there in West Hollywood, but in regular Sterling Avenue, right? Sterling Road, there was a bonfire last night. Now, okay, should I tell the halacha here? Yeah, I'll read to you the halacha over here. The way it's written in Shmuel Kamenetsky's Sefer. He says, "V'chein adin in tazmoros." Comes to music. The medina tazmoros rikudim v'cholos aser belal Lag BaOmer. Midin, it's aser to have dancing and singing in the night of Lag BaOmer. Va'om nagal lahakal lagabi rikudim v'cholos tazmoros. The world is makel about these areas. V'tzarachian, and it needs to be understood why they're makel. If you look in the footnotes there, he writes, "V'harbi nogim hater le'ini rikudim v'cholos v'shim hilud v'shim bar yichai v'ulai choshvin as rikudim zeh shal mitzvah sheyesh makom mahater." You might say that this is dancing of a mitzvah. This might be put in that category. V'hu dochik. Shmuel Kamenetsky says that's a big dochik. Mitzad adin ein roy lahakal b'zeh. I was called up on Erev Shabbos. Didn't even know about this. A parent who has a child same age as one of mine heard that there was a class party in Miami Beach last night, and they assumed there'll be music and dancing. So they asked me, am I letting my daughter go? So I said, no one told me about it. I spoke to my daughter. Yeah. So, I told this person, the issues involved, and he discussed it with the posek, and the posek was very strong on discouraging your child from going. Proper chinuch, they should know this. I went the other way. I told my daughter all about it, and she told her friends, "Okay, we can't have music." That's it. But Lamaisa, these things do come about, and different places might have different mentalities. In general, music, which is recorded versus live, makes a big difference. There are poskim in general during the Sefira that are more lenient when it comes to recording music. Okay, dancing's a different madrega. That's trickier to permit. But people, it's a kiruv idea. They think, what else are they going to do Motzei Shabbos? This is probably better. Okay. There are mentalities, but mitzad adin, not so simple to find a heter. Unless Josh, you come up with one. Said kiruv is okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yes.
This year's,
My apologies.
you could have, at least this year, you could say, okay, no music, no dancing, it could be a Malav Malka. If
But Malav Malka during Sfiras, we wouldn't, that's not really a mitzvah that justifies music and dancing.
No, I'm saying no music or dancing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right. Now, there's halacha. Let's say you go to a wedding today. So, if it's a day wedding, okay, shkia is 8 o'clock. You're covered. Well, let's say it's a night wedding. The wedding's going to start, let's say, an early wedding, 5 o'clock. But the dancing is going to go past shkia. So there, the poskim give a heter. The ones that started the heter for a wedding, they do allow for that to continue. I would bring up, though, what happens if it's not a wedding? Let's say a shul, instead of having it last night, they were nervous about this issue, so they have it tonight. But realize it gets tricky here, too. Everybody likes to have it at night so they can have their bonfire. But let's play out the scenario. Let's say the shul has a bonfire tonight, an event tonight. Say it starts at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But let's say it goes, shkiya's at 8 o'clock.
Let's say it starts at 7 o'clock.
I'm just giving up. This is hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, but if you want to be hypothetically complicated, why don't you just do it?
So let me tell you how it rolls. So before shkia, everything's good, no problems. After shkia, Josh might turn into a pumpkin. The clock strikes shkia because seemingly the following. If you keep the first Sefira, you have nothing to worry about because the minhagim for Sefira finished with you this morning. So you could dance the night away. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you're good. If you're Sephardi, don't forget, as soon as Shkia comes, or whatever is man, the night's great. Here is the one case you're going to have a problem. If you keep what you call second Sefira, which means Lag BaOmer is only a pause day for you.
Or the whole sphere.
right? Or some have a minute to do the whole Sfira. So, yeah, by the time it hits Shkia, it's already questionable, that heter. Bishlam by a wedding, okay, that's a big bona fide mitzvah, simchas chas makali. There at the wedding, you could continue. But after Shkia, for a local block party, shul party, that's more questionable. So you have to know what your shita is, and plan accordingly.
So if you make it a Seuda and you have some Divrei Torah as part of it, then can you stretch it till benching?
That's a Hanukkah then.
Can you combine the Hilula concept and starting during the day Lag B'Omer, or is it?
I'll tell you, I didn't emphasize enough the Lashon. The Shulchan Aruch's Lashon is Marbim Ksas B'Simcha. The language of the Shulchan Aruch is Remarba a little bit in Simcha. It's not a full-fledged holiday. I even saw a post discuss, let's say someone's getting married today. Does he fast? Normally the halacha is the day of a chasna kala fast. The exceptions are for holidays. So there's Rosh Chodesh. There's one fast if you're getting married today. They're posting that say the answer is absolutely yes. Oh, but I didn't say Tachnan. Okay, yeah, but it's not a full-fledged holiday. It might be even less, in the halachically speaking, for this area than Rosh Chodesh.
What's the prevalent sock?
For that particular shayla? Sure. But I definitely saw this as a strong tzad. So, again, like, the lashon that's brought in Shulchan Aruch by the Ramah is marabim ksas b'simcha. So, really things beyond it and think there's a full-fledged heter, no. Every step of the way, halachically, you have to understand what's the heter. For a wedding, once you go to a wedding, you're into a wedding, so then there's a big mitzvah simchas chas makal. But before you're at that stage, you go into some shul party, okay, you have to go around in the circles, before Shkia. But, yes.
We've learned in other shirim that sometimes community minhag you have to follow. Is there such a thing with Lag B'Omer that
Very interesting question.
Our shul's minhag is we follow the first 33 days?
Very good question. Was just posed, is there such a thing as community minhag when it comes to Sfira? And in America, the answer probably is not. In Europe, you have strong minhagim in some places. And in Eretz Yisrael, I don't think there really is. But here, it's wishy-washy, or Moshe's famous tshuva that we talked about really last week, that you can flip your minhagim. It's very not. But as a yeshiva, we always do get nervous. And like we plan events and we do things like for the second Sfira, what do? We're careful about that because we try to be sensitive that there are other minhagim out there. And
I think the yeshiva discourages guys from making chasnas during
correct.
second Sfira other
Correct.
than Lag B'Omer.
In Chavetz Chaim Yeshiva, the Rosh Yeshiva will not be Masada Kedushin by a wedding after Lag B'Omer. Nowadays it's become in vogue because there's a shortage of halls. So there are those that will quote unquote assume first Sfira and then make a wedding after Lag B'Omer. So being the fact how that wasn't done in past generations, Yeshiva is very strong against that. They'll stop that. Yes?
I was going to ask you. So would that be why, I guess this is a little tangential, Yeshiva here, their evening Lag B'Omer festivities start at 7 o'clock, so most Ashkenazim can be mishtatek with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, I wasn't consulted.
Or was there that much of a thought process?
Now, I want to show you an amazing thing. So far, we went through the halachas of Lag B'Omer, which you see, there's very defined borders, and it's not so easy to have an all-out holiday, which lends to the question, so how does this all-out holiday happen? So I found an amazing area. There's a famous sefer, Tamei Amnhagim. In one of the later printings of that sefer, they introduced a whole packet, a whole big area of stuff on Lag B'Omer. And if you look, they bring this whole thing, Hilud, Rishim Bar Yichai B'Yom Lag B'Omer. And the whole beginning point of this area, this is the hakdama to it, is a question, what in the world is Lag BaOmer based on? There is no Gemara, there's no clear early sources for such a thing. Now, everything we do, we could usually trace back. Here, this is written by Hasidim, that they're challenging, like, what's the source of it? I like the way they put it. If you look in the second paragraph, okay, towards the bottom of the page, you have the Tamim and Hagim Hakdama. Mi Yasod Kol Ela. Who founded all this Lag BaOmer stuff? Ukshelas Chazal. This is similar to the question the Gemara asks in Masechah Shabbos. My Chanukah. So therefore, Shalom Holchabo. My Lag BaOmer. Like, what's the source? Where does it come from? Asati Alibi Lachmer Sifri Doshim. What is this all about? My Lag BaOmer, which is a very, very good halachic question to ask. What is the source of people making such a big holiday of Lag BaOmer? Where does it come from? And basically, you read through different sources. They talk about that Chaim Vital testifies that the Arizal went to Meron, and they made this Helula over there for Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. They celebrated the Yurtzeit of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and talks about upsherins and cutting hair of a child over there. And, okay, there are these Al-Pi Kabbalah sources that Lag BaOmer is a big day, different of opinion. It's definitely the day that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, I shouldn't say definitely, a lot of things are debatable, but it's assumed it was the day that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai passed away, and they make there's a day he revealed Sisrei Torah, the Zohar, and they make a big deal about it. Now the starting point of that really is, if it's a Kabbalic Inyan, so there's two groups in Klal Yisrael that very much got into this. Hasidim and Sfardim. Lag BaOmer became one of the biggest days in the Jewish calendar in the Hasidic world and the Sephardic world. That's really where things started.
Sephardim knew it differently than we were.
Okay, that's really Al-Pi Kabbalah. There's a big Inyan for that day, and they made a whole big hullabaloo about it. So that was the Sephardic world. That was the Hasidic world. Where do all the Ashkenazim, the Litvaks, get involved in this? So we'll see soon. The simple answer to the question is society has been very influenced by probably more the Hasidic world than the Sephardic world. But it has grown tremendously.
It's fun, so let's do it also.
Yes, and I'm going to get to that in a second.
No, it's fine.
The Lag BaOmer has exploded in the Jewish world in general, but halakhically speaking, the Hasidim themselves are asking these questions. My Lag BaOmer, what's the source of it? And the source is the Kabbalah. Nothing besides that. So that already paints the picture. I want to go further. Let's talk about now, delve into the idea of an upsherin, which is a general thing people do, but Lag BaOmer might be the biggest day of the year, the most popular day of the year for upsherins. So what's the basis of that? So that's halacha, or we'll see the halacha. The halacha in Shulchan Aruch Yeridea Siman Reish Mem Hey. Halachas of Chinuch. It says, "Machnisim atinokas atalmud ben chamish shamim shlemos." When do you send a child to yeshiva to learn? 5 years old. Younger than that, keep him away. Give him the space. Let him play. So if he's a weak kid, okay, wait till he's 6. Hold him back here. Haga. As soon as a child turns 3 years old, you teach him the letters of the Torah, In order that he should be accustomed to be able to read. So you're teaching him Torah at age 5, but at age 3, you're teaching him the Aleph base. That's very interesting. The Mishnah in Avos, which goes through the stages of a person development, right? It says 18 to get married, but it says it starts with Ben Chamish Lemikra. Doesn't say anything before that. That's all the Mechaber talked about. The Ramah over here is adding, and it's a very interesting source. I might challenge people to tell me where else in the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah do you have such a source. You know what the source for this is? Very interesting. Abarbanel on his parish in Avos. The famous Abarbanel who led Spanish Jewry.
That's definitely story.
Yeah. But that's the source which the Ramah brings for this idea of 3 years old. I saw it even goes as far. There are those that have a girsa in Pirkei Avos, in the Mishnayos, of Ben Shalosh La'osios. That's an actual girsa. At 3 years old, you teach them the letters. At 5 years old, you teach them how to learn. So right then and there, okay, there's an idea. By 3 years old, you start teaching them the Aleph base. Hold on.
The question is, when is tuition?
Now,
Or the prepaid, you can do it when they're born.
you find in the Mefarshim on the Shulchan Aruch that there are, over here, again, the Mechaber does not talk about this, the Ramah doesn't talk about it, but it talks about not giving a haircut to a child till he's 3 years old. What's the source of that? The Taz quotes, others quote, it's a remez, but just like by Orla, by a tree, the first 3 years you don't eat the fruits. So similarly, by a child, the first few years you don't shave his hair, you save it to 3 and then you shave. Okay? Now that's also something which is at least has a halachic source. There is a source for that. But it converges at the same time where the Ramah talks about that at age 3, you teach them the letters. Now let's read further in the Shach. Shach is on the side of the Shulchan Aruch, on the side of the page. Kasav HaKolbo, Matzchilim Lo MiSefer Vayikra. So what's the first thing you teach a child? You teach him Sefer Vayikra. Shekin Amr Chazal, because Chazal say, Matzchilim V'tinokas MiSefer Vayikra. You start with Sefer Vayikra, Vishenamar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yavo Taharos V'yis'ask B'Taharos. So the pure ones come and be involved in learning the pure Torah, the Torah about Karbanos and purity. Let them come and learn it. Nice idea. V'chein nagu achshav. That's what the Kolbo brings. The old Kasav Sham B'Cholbo V'Rakeach Min Hagim Shenagu Shemachtis Matinok. And they also talk about other minhagim that they have when they bring a tinuk in, a child in for the first time to learn. Now, I'll quickly go through those minhagim. Some of them are based on an earlier source, the Machzor Vitri. Talks about the idea when you teach a child to learn, all these, you dip honey, you have a sheet that has the Aleph base, and you put honey on it, and let the child lick it. This way the words of Torah, the letters of Torah, should be sweet to him. They have an idea of wrapping the child up in a talus. When you take him for that first time, he shouldn't see any outside influences. Just focus on that. Things with apples. Nowadays they have peklach. Really in upsharing today, if you go the full 9 yards, they have a Suda, mostly in the Hasidic world, but it has made major inroads in the non-Hasidic world too. You could have the upsharing. Alan could cost you more than your grandson's bris. Bigger than a bris, they make an upsharing. Right? You gotta get invited to these. Big parties. Kids walk home with like a pekla of nash. Whole big spreads. And it looks beautiful. You wrap the child up, you bring him to a chash of a person, they'll cut the first hair. And they'll make a whole big deal about it. This is something, I'll show you how far it's spread. As I said, today's the day which is probably the most, the best day on the chart. I assume any kid whose birthday is anywhere near Lag BaOmer, they save it up to do it today. I got before Shabbos, someone sent me a list of all the major Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael. They all have time slots today when you could bring over their kids. I'm not talking about the Hasidic Rebbes. All the major Gedolim in Yerushalayim and Bnei Brak have set times for you to bring their children, grandchildren, to have them snip the first hair. It's spread. I found over here, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, okay? Rav Shlomo Zalman did wear a shtreimel on Yontif, maybe Shabbos too. But he was Yerushalmi, he's not a Hasidic. But Rav Shlomo Zalman talks about this minhag, Tasparas li'yoladim b'mlos lem shalosh shanim, shenagu rabim, lasos b'yom Lag BaOmer. And he talks about the Rav and other Krovim to cut it. So he has a halakha discussion. If you cut the hair, you have to wash your hands. Normally the halacha is for a barber. It's very interesting. After you give a haircut or you get a haircut, halacha is you have to wash your hands. So Shlomo Zalman, he might be talking about Upsherins, but he's talking from a halachic perspective. Okay, so if I'm the Rosh Hashiva, that people are coming to me to snip their kids, and there could be crazy lines. So after I cut the kid's hair, do I have to wash my hands?
3 and 3?
Huh?
3 and 3?
Yeah. So if Shlomo Zalman comes out, you don't. And he says not like a regular haircut, just snipping. Yeah, that you don't have to wash your hands. But Lamaisa, you do see that this is something that has, for sure in Eretz Yisrael, has spread beyond the Hasidic and Sephardic world. In America, Lakewood, Brooklyn, it has very, very much spread and been a very much in vogue thing to do. And I think if you ask me why it's spread, because it just looks beautiful. A kid looks cute with long hair. They make the before and after pictures. The kid with nice long hair, and next thing you know,
What a cute little
they
girl.
shave it, right?
They look 3 years older.
Yeah, they shave his hair, leave payas, and the works. But I want to show you what the Shach writes for this. So most people don't even know this. So the Kolbo brought, the Rakesh brought all these minhagim. The last 3 lines of the Shach. V'lo nagu achshav ba'osim minhagim. We do not have these minhagim. The Shach is writing to in the parish in Shulchan Aruch. Malcolm shenagu ein l'shanos. Look, if they happen to have that minhag, yeah, you don't have to change it. But all these minhagim that I mentioned, is this our minhagim? The Shach says no, it's not. It's not our minhag.
Very much not our minhag. If you look at elementary school, you see they start teaching kids Bereshis, then they work their way to Shmos, and they skip Vayikra.
Okay, some do this,
But the reason they start with Bereshis, the way
some schools do start, they say the first pasuk of Vayikra. I think by us, here, we do say the first pasuk of Vayikra. But it's also, could be a lot of kids, but then had their haircuts, and they did this procedure themselves already. But what I'm pointing out is the Shach says, this is not our minhag. In Nagu case. Do we have a minhag to teach them Sefer Vayikra? The answer is yes. But the second group, all these pomp, beautiful minhagim with it, the honey, the this, that, Shach says it's not our minhag. Now,
Is it 3 years old or the year you become 3 years old?
Pashas means when you turn 3, the day you turn 3. The Lag BaOmer people, most of the kids not born in Lag BaOmer, so it's anywhere around there. But
Is it around or was doing Sfira, so after Pesach before the coming?
right, good point. That itself would be a good reason why Lag BaOmer becomes a bigger day. Alan's bringing up because can't give haircuts to little kids too, are part of the minhagim. We don't give them haircuts between Pesach and Shavuos. other than like B'Omer or whatever the minhag is. But personally, I gave my children haircuts before 3. I try to abide by the shach, not to do these things. But it's definitely become a very, very much in vogue, popular practice. And I think it's important for people to realize, in general, it's important to know the difference between halacha and a minhag. But then there's another madrega. A lot of times, that first step we always try to do in a share. Okay, this is halacha, this is the rice of the Rabbanon minhag. Here, this is a whole different area. There's somebody else's minhag, and then there's your minhag. The Sephardim have this minhag. Chassidim have this minhag. The Litvishas didn't have this minhag. Shach says in Beferish. So the concept just to adapt something, and Yeki's put a talis on under the chuppah, and the chassid and kala said under the chuppah, wow, that looks so beautiful. This is a beautiful way to start marriage. It's under one talis. You know what? For my kid, I'm going to do that. Like, Judaism is not about just picking and choosing. This is a beautiful thing. Let's pick that. Now, the only reason that hasn't started because it hasn't caught on in Israel, Eretz Israel, or in Lakewood.
Is that putting a talus around both the Hasim?
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Right. Because Sephardim have that minhag, and German Jews have that minhag. But outside of that, maybe not. But
my cousin
people
got married
life.
To B'Omer in
Yeah.
Yerushalayim in the Herva. Before
Beautiful.
it was a Herva.
Right.
So he put the talus on both of them,
Right.
So,
Right.
So where's this coming from, right?
Right. What do you say?
I don't know. I mean, he sort of. Anyway, the marriage didn't work out, so because we're not Yekish.
Yeah. Right. That's a good shayla. But Lamaisa, with these things, it's important to know what the basis of it is, where is it coming from, and Yiddishkeit is not a smorgasbord of just picking and choosing what aesthetically looks beautiful. There's basis for things. We do things on the basis, and if you're doing something where it's not your minhag, make sure you understand that. Make sure you see a difference. Sometimes people could be moser nefesh for something. It's one thing if it's a minhag, but this is not a minhag. This is just societal fad, and then you attach, halachic significance to it. Something missing. But I would put this down, and especially a year like this when Meron was shut down, people wouldn't go there. But I find it interesting. This same piece, where the author is struggling to understand my Lag B'Omer, what's the basis of it? Right before that, they bring a Rashi in Maseches Yevamos. Rashi in Yevamos on Kuf Chaf Beis Amud Aleph says, "Uv'tshuva zagon matzasi kohanach regili damaroi hayu yom shemes bo adam gadol." What they call these holidays in times of Amarayim were days when a great person passed away. Kovim also l'chvoda. They set up that day for his kavod. Umidei shana b'shana, year by year. Kishmagia also yom mikavsim tamid chachamim mikol svivav ubam al kivro sham. Right, that they would gather together and they would come to the kever. Im shara'am lahashiv yeshiva sham, to set up a yeshiva there. Now, this might be a little different than Lag B'Omer bonfires, but Rashi is bringing over here in Yevamos a concept of a yurtzeit chair, a concept of learning the Torah. It says Davka Talmidei Chachamim, learning the Torah of someone who passed away. That's a big deal. That's a beautiful thing. That's a source. That you have a day to the yurtzeit of a person, whatever you could do. Dedicate learning, but whatever you could do to learn from the Torah of that person. You see nowadays become more. That's a good minhag. There's different groups. Yortzeit Yomi. You could find out in the Jewish world now. Whose Yortzeit is it today? To learn from the Torah of someone on their Yortzeit, that's a big deal. That's something to do. to learn the Torah of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That's an amazing thing to do. And I'll end with one beautiful thought. The Pri Chadash says, why is it that we celebrate today? Not just as the day that Shimon Bar Yochai passes, rather a different idea. As we know that the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva died for 33 days, right? According to the opinion, it means they stopped in Lag BaOmer. When they stopped in Lag BaOmer, Gemara describes the world was desolate. There's no Torah. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 Talmidim that he built up, right? You think about the trajectory of Rabbi Akiva's life. He went from literally being an Am Haaretz at the age of 40 to transforming himself to become a huge Talmid Chacham, somebody that Moshe Rabbeinu was impressed with and asked, Hashem, why am I giving the Torah? Why isn't Rabbi Akiva giving the Torah? Wow. He's the ultimate Baal Tshuva story. Someone who transformed himself and became from an Am Haaretz to a huge Rosh Yeshiva, and he had 24,000 Talmidim. To put that in perspective, the Mir Yeshiva, Lakewood Yeshiva, they each have, let's say, 8, maybe even 9, that's 16, 18,000 Talmidim. You still haven't gotten there yet. You need another, 8,000. Okay? Go around to all the other yeshivas. 24,000 Talmidim died. And it wasn't, and they died trickle, not such a trickle, but over 33 days. Okay? A little less than 1,000 a day. That's pretty crazy. And can you imagine Rabbi Akiva, you're an older man already. By the time this happened, he spent years and years of his life. Right? He was 40 when he went to yeshiva. He was there for 28 years. He was 68 years old. Right? He could already get Social Security, basically. And his yeshiva gets wiped out. What does he do? At old age, he decides to go right back at it and try again. And he taught 5 Talmidim. From those 5 Talmidim, that's where we have all the Torah in Klal Yisrael. The Pri Chadash, Perish in Shulchan Aruch says, the day that Rabbi Akiva taught the 5 Talmidim, amongst them was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, was the day of Lag BaOmer. That's a day to celebrate. A day to celebrate the rebirth of Torah, a day when a person is met with such adversity, everything's wiped away, to restart at an older age and do it again, that is a reason to have a big holiday. That is a reason to appreciate what Lag BaOmer is, and that's the message. It shows the power of Torah, what Torah learning is. So yeah, probably what we're doing here is probably the best thing to do in Lag BaOmer. Come to share, learn Torah. But okay, we could dance a little too. Just keep an eye on your watch.
Off screen.
Thank you very much, Rabosai, for a wonderful, wonderful week.
Wasn't Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai also considered the lowest of those 5 Talmidim? At least at the beginning. I don't know later.
Yes. That's the truth. Thank you.